Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner of the internet. It's Monday the 4th of April, and I know if you've been reading comments and things I made or in the community section of the channel, I said there wouldn't be a video today, but I'm home sooner than I expected. After a time out, my first time into a cafe for over 2 years. And I am stressed beyond belief, or I was. I'm now beginning to come down from that, and that tends to leave me feeling a bit woozy, not quite with it, a bit drifty, floaty. But I feel smart would help. Some kind of art, possibly some colouring, and a bit of a chat. So I hope you're all doing fine and well. I hope everything is good with you, and I hope that you're finding time to be creative. I'd also like to say thank you so much for the absolutely beautiful comments that people have been leaving. It just amazes me, and I'm just so grateful that there are plenty of you who really enjoy what I'm doing here. And if you do enjoy whatever video it is, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and if you have, thank you so much. And if you are if you know other crafty, arty people who would enjoy seeing this to get some ideas from what sketchbooks are for, perhaps, because this is my sketchbook, then please share and help others in the way that perhaps I'm helping you, or help me to help others, and do whatever it is you get from my videos. So thank you ever so much. Now, if you saw my last video, you might recognize, I think was it this page? Yeah, it was this page I did, because it's glued into my sketchbook, where I just drew a page full of circular patterns, except I've added bits to this, haven't I? I've added some patterns with pen to fill sections in, and colour. And if I go back a page or two, perhaps, where have I got? So this is what the page would have looked like originally, perhaps a little bit like this, a bit less fanciful as some of these are. Have a look, something like these. Show you quickly. All very quickly drawn, perhaps more like this, I suppose, for bareness of pattern and so on. There's another page here that's got different things on, and a page here. And let me have a look over. Oh look, there's another page. It's addictive. I'm telling you now, I'm warning you, this is addictive. But I've added things here as well as colour. Now, in the last video, I started adding colour here and here. I don't think I did anywhere else, with Graphitint pencils. But then on my own time, while the video was processing and later on in the day, I thought, I know what I'm going to try. And I did. And it worked, and they're very vibrant and very lovely, depending on the colours I choose. But I used some of these. I've got a set of the Pentel Brush Sign pens. These aren't permanent. They're water-based, water-soluble. And you can use these as if they're watercolour, or any kind of water soluble medium, and they actually are lovely to use because the colours, when you spread them out, they change beautifully, whether they become less intense, or whether it's just some of the pigments in these are water soluble. But you can see how much here. This one I actually have added colour to previously, but I used a pale pink and a beige, and to be honest with you, there wasn't much in the way of colour. The other lovely thing about these is where you put the pen is where you get the darkest colour. Now, if I want the edges darker, once they dried, I can always come back. Well, possibly with this paper. It's the it's paper that's it's the Hahnemuhle DNS sketchbook, and it's designed for dry media, mainly for pencils, pastels and things, but pen works okay on it. Works fine actually. And it's just, as long as you don't overwork, you should be all right for a couple of layers, I would think. But obviously this would work best if you were using, oh no, what am I on about? This is mixed media paper. The Sketchbook is the DNS, but this here, this that I'm using is the Canson Imagine mixed media paper. I can see that where this is darker, I just took the ink up to where these little bends are in the lines. So I've got the darker shape here, and it really does look like this is bending over. So these work fantastically. I would say there's 24 of them in a set, and lovely sets of colours. But I remembered I hadn't got rid of my Tombow Mono. So I've got a kind of reddy pink there. Head on, let's go for an orange. Hopefully these will still work. Look a right muppet now if they don't, won't I? So I'm just going to pop some of these in between. These are a lot more expensive than the Pentel, but that doesn't mean necessarily they're any better or any worse. They are what they are. And I don't know whether I'll replace them, though the more I'm using media like this, the more I'm enjoying it, and the more I'm thinking, perhaps. I suspect, though, that if I decide, once they've run out, if I do keep them, then I will replace them perhaps with the Eco line, either pens or inks. I haven't decided whether I'll get pens or the bottles of inks. But they are nice as well. There's not as many colours in the set. I think there's about 60. I mean, Tombow has got a ridiculous number in the full set. These work nicely as well. They do tend to grab the paper a bit more. They do have a blender pen, a colourless blender pen that comes with them, which can move if you've drawn in pen. I think in pencil it can move the graphite, and it can, even with waterproof pens, it can move the pigments, and I don't like that, which would be no surprise to you, because if I draw in pen, I want the pen to stay where it is no matter what I do to it, really. Unless I want it to move, and then that's okay. So this is all just a bit of fun. This one here, I really like it when I put the outlines around these shapes and where I filled the background with texture. I didn't outline these shapes and they seem a bit lost in amongst the texture, but these other ones, they help those little shapes to just stand out that little bit. So my brain is a bit addled. I had a lovely long brunch with a friend. The cafe we went to was quiet, didn't have many tables in it, and when we left it was beginning to get a little bit busier because it was, you know, lunchtime-ish, and people were coming in from the businesses around for lunch and so on. But what was lovely, there was no pressure on us to leave, even though it was getting quite busy. But it was time to leave. I was beginning to get more and more spaced out, which shows that my levels of anxiety were creeping up a lot, and my body was beginning to get very tired out, and or my brain. And it's lovely to see my friend. I really do enjoy company and time with her. I haven't seen her much over the last couple of years for obvious reasons. And but I'm exhausted through being around people. We really did. We had a lovely late brunch. You're going to get a lot of just chit chat today, I think. I had scrambled egg and mushrooms, fried mushrooms on toast. It was absolutely delicious, but there were mountains of it. I couldn't believe the portions, but really lovely. And my friend had the same, but she had bacon. I don't eat bacon unless it's vegetarian or vegan, sort of faken, I suppose, fake bacon. And I'm fussy about that even when I eat that. Can't look too much like meat, can't taste too much like meat, but if it's got the smoky bacon flavouring, or, you know, then yeah. So it would be smoky bacon that would be the only thing that would ever entice me back from vegetarianism at one time. Not anymore, though. So with this one, you may have noticed I put colour both in the centre and at the edge. Because the Tombow doesn't activate as much as the Pentel, it's easy to get this darker edge and, you know, on both sides and that lighter colour in the middle. Oh, look what's happened to that. That's pretty minging. Does it still? Oh, it does still work a little bit. That's the reason why I wanted to get rid of these. There's a little bit of red left on my pen. It's fine though. It is what it is. Just to fill these in with something a bit different. I'll leave the white areas white for now. So that was lovely. Lots of chatter, lots of catch up. Mainly hers, because she's a busy bee and I'm busy, but in a different kind of way. I'm much more homebody, I suppose you'd say, in America. I'm quite introverted, believe it or not, and being at home suits me, whereas she likes to be out and about and doing things and with people, and I like people, but in small doses. That sounds wrong, but a small number of people and not too much noise, which I was very grateful that this particular cafe, which was new to both of us and is on our top list for local places to go, will likely be visited many times, especially when we saw the cakes they had there. Oh my gosh. Absolutely amazing. And brownies as well. I'm not a fan of brownies. I just find them too sickly. They're not my kind of thing. But they did look very nice, and she had one and she really enjoyed it. I think she had the Turkish Delight one. I could be wrong. So between us, we actually, you know, we had a lovely time. Oh, I had a piece of a sponge cake, a Victoria sponge, but it was had Kinder Buenos on it, and sort of like the creamy stuff inside was chocolate flavoured, and the topping was proper chocolate as well, not fake chocolate. It was lovely, very rich. I bought most of it home with me, just had a couple of mouthfuls, so I'm going to be eating cake for the next couple of days. But I don't mind that because, oh gosh, this one, it's a little bit on the dry side as well. But that's fine. Sometimes they just need a bit of help to wake them up a bit. But if they have dried out, so be it. I've had them for several years now. So, and I haven't really used them very much, but they also, I have a feeling, tend to make the paper pill up a little bit more than you'd expect. Perhaps it may just be me. 2 shades of green, green on green, that actually works. I like that. It's that monochrome kind of idea that I tend to have from time to time, or I like to work with. It's very much makes things feel right to me. Now, is it all going to be monochrome? Well, I'm adding a darker green in between these, and I am going to use water just to activate the colour at one edge, perhaps in the middle, and try and push it out so I've got a highlighted area, so it's not all the same green. Though if it is, that's no big problem, because you can always go back and add things to it. Okay, I'm going to leave the greens alone for a moment, and I think we might go perhaps with a touch of red, because red and green are more or less complementary colours. Well, they are. But just a pop of red here, just to really make that green shout, or to give that that contrast here. Just adding water more to get a watery feeling to that one. This one I can add to get the lighter area, which I'll just pick some of the colour up again with a barely damp brush, just to leave that highlight there. And if I want to intensify the highlight, I can always either go in once this is dried and use a bit more red or a darker red, or I can use something like coloured pencils. Not quite sure. The middle one's going to be interesting because I don't think I want to put red there or green there. That's a scuzzy one as well. Move that over there. I think that was the scuzzy one I used. Oh, there we go. This is a greeny yellow, I think, a mossy green, so I think that'll work quite nicely in the middle. Perhaps I'll add just a little bit of yellow in the centre, just to brighten this up a little bit. If it'll work. If it doesn't, it's no big problem. It'll be what it will be, and that's fine. This bright blue was the Pentel. It was just the ordinary blue in the Pentel, just blue. You fade it out. It's quite deep when you put it on, but when you add water to it, it has this beautiful wash out. Really vibrant, lovely. But that's really quite nice. I like this. I could do with adding shadow underneath these, and I'll think about how I do that in a little while. I'm not going to do it straight away because I could use a graphite pencil, I could use Graphitint, I could use some Tombow. I could use Tombows if I had a sheet of plastic here, my plastic palette, and I don't know where that is. I've put it somewhere safe. It'll dawn on me eventually where I've put it. I just don't know where at this exact moment. Okie dokes. I could try using a green, perhaps, just slightly underneath there. Just to have that sense that perhaps there's some height there, so these are lifted off that underneath area. And then, oh gosh, that was pretty scuzzy. Let's see if we can just use a little bit of water along them just to fade it out a little bit so it's not quite such a harsh line. Fade and spread, I think, is the clue here. So that'll work. That lifts it up instantly, so that's a bit better. Oh, don't know where that's from. Look at that. That came from a pen. It is what it is. It'll be fine. Just spread it out as much as I can, and I've got this cloth here. I'll see if I can pick a fair amount of the water up, the coloured water up with the cloth. That'll be fine, I'm sure. There we go. Okie dokes, let's have a look. Different blue. The Tombows just don't have names on them, you just get numbers. This is number 533. So I've got no idea what colour it's going to be. The top suggests blue. The tip suggests a purpley colour. So let's have one. Somewhere in between the two, I'd say. So I'm going to pop this colour down in alternate ones. Oh, I've got an odd number here, but I know I'll do a bit of a cheat, because what I'll do is I'll leave this section without any in, this section, but the two side by side with some of the colour in. Cheat. It'll work, it'll be fine. I haven't got the space to split any sections up to create a repeating pattern, so I'll just alter how the colour's added. And you might sketchbook, so it's not important, but it's a way of working around things or learning how to work around things. Very, very subtle colour. You might not even pick it up on the screen. Have a look. So if that helps. Very, very subtle. So let me go hunting for something that's a little less subtle to go in the gaps in between. Oh, this looks like a really bright blue. So let's add some of that. Perhaps not as bright as I thought it was. But Sketchbook is a good way, or good place to try things out. Or if you do find, oh, what have I done here? How you can make the pattern of colours around work. So there's always some of this blue in between the purple and vice versa. The lavendery colour. Yeah, I'm being quite delicate with my colours. Really am tired. A couple of hours and it's just taken it out of me completely. But it's a good kind of tiredness. If you understand me, get my meaning. I'm going to add some of this goldeny, yellowy colour in these sections. I did around this ring here. So go back to my water brush, check that it's clean. That's what the back of my hand is for these days, it seems. My left hand. And then let's just spread this colour out. So the colours are very subtle because I'm not using much of the pens. But I think that's fine. Okay, let's have a look. I want something for these petals, and I'm looking for, I think we'll go with a pinky colour. This is a pink, honest. You can see. I think it'll just blend out just a little bit, and it's almost like a blush colour, I suppose. There's a hint of orangey about it. The light may change here because the sun's peeking out through clouds. It's been a bit grey and damp. It was quite damp, wet when I went out this morning. I think there was a bit of rain and drizzle in the air, sort of, but nothing much. The sun's decided to come out now. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Oh, that is a very pale colour. So I'm going to load the bottom up with this one almost up to the top. Leave this bit at the top up, empty of this. And yeah, I am using a lot of colour in these sections. Bit there. Let me see if I can find a slightly darker version of that colour. This will be interesting. These are other Tombows. They're called twin tones. And you've got a fine line on one end and a bullet nib on the other. And but I think they've still got the Tombow ink in them. I've never really used them. I bought them. I thought, oh, they look fab. And I think these are the brights, but they also had pastel versions. So I'll add a little bit of this and let's see how this blends into this pink, and then see what kind of gradation we can get. I think with this one I'm going to start with the light pink and blend it out, and then take the light pink and go into that darker pink and just allow it to blend out. I may need to pick a little bit up if it's threatening to fill the whole section, but I think that's the way to go. It's always useful to work light to dark. You can always add a bit more colour, but it's not so easy to remove the colour. And if you've got too much colour on your brush, just wipe it off and then go in and create that gradient that you like. That's how I do it. I'm not saying it's right or it's the only way. There are many ways. It's how I do it. And sometimes that changes because I might forget, or I might prefer a different way of doing this. So if I didn't want this bright pink in a very small amount close to the bottom of these spaces, then I might do this in a different kind of way. If I wanted more of this spread up, then I would perhaps work in a different way. But they're lovely and bright. I really am in the mood for bright colours today, I think. I think that's worked really nicely. Okay, that colour is the one that needs to go out. Keep putting it back in the pot and I'll end up picking it out and going, oh, I could state on this again. So I'm going to pop some really bright yellow in this section, essentially because I can. And also it really is bright against that pink. And in between them, I think I'm going to go with, I'm hoping I can find an orangey red. This is about the best one, because I think an orangey red here might actually work. Oh yeah, that's orangey red. Might work really nicely. Now I'm doing some colouring with you because somebody, I can't remember who it was, I'm sorry, I have read the comments even if I haven't replied to them yet. That's going to be my next job as this is uploading, I think, or processing before I can upload it. It's to respond to all the lovely comments and so on. And but wanted to see more of me adding colour. And I think it's, you know, it's nice. I like things that are plain black and white myself, but again, as I think we grow, we change. I go through phases, but as I'm adding colour to these little drawings, I'm beginning to appreciate more what colour can bring and how I'm learning more about adding colour myself and how to add colour. So I think that actually worked quite nicely. The colour's quite more, it's more intense, it's a darker tone than the pinks, and so it sets those areas back behind them, it pushes them into the background. Now this inner bit, I think I'm not going to try and colour each of these little spaces in on their own. But what I'm going to do is I've got this orange here, 946, if I'm not telling you the numbers all the time because I'll forget to do it, but a sort of like orangey colour, and this one's a kind of golden yellow, just to create some kind of shadowing around the edge and perhaps a bit of a highlight in the middle. But I'm going to need to remove some of the colour in the centre to really get that kind of highlight going, as if it's domed upwards. Once it's dry, I think I'll want to come back there with some darker colour, to be honest. Okay, so that works quite nicely. Here I have actually overspilled with the orange a bit, but that's no great problem because I'll just blend it into that section and perhaps into this one so they don't looks deliberate rather than an oops moment. If you do it with a couple of them, you won't really notice once it's dried. Okay, let's have a look. Which next shall we do? I have to be feeling it, I think. We need to feel what I want to do. This has got, it's a blue-black colour here, an indigo colour. And I love an ochre-y colour next to this. I have gone outside the line here a little bit with the indigo blue colour, but it's okay because I will pick it up with the brush and just wipe it off and bring a clean brush back, and eventually you will hardly notice there's anything there. And if I was going to reproduce this, say as prints or on a t-shirt or whatever, a book cover, whatever I would use it for, I'd be editing it digitally anyway, cleaning it all up digitally. That is very vibrant, this colour. I do like it against that indigo blue. I also like rusty kinds of colours next to indigo, browny colours. So I'm looking for an indigo over here. Chances I won't find one because it's hard to tell from the lid what colour is in them. So I shall go back to my Pentel here. Just pop that yellow lid on. I just like leaving pens with lids off. So this is the Pentel one, it's blue-black, in other words an indigo. And I'm just going to pop some in those. I've got two sections there next door to each other. So when I've finished spreading this colour out and creating a gradient, I'm going to need to remove some of that so I can get a lighter colour in between. I'll get a pen and I'll split one of those just to create a second section. It's also nice to work with these in a sketchbook, whether it's the sketchbook paper or a piece of paper you want to work on. You get to practice or to work with different media and work out how you can get them to work for you. So and try different coloured papers out because they do work differently with the media, and so it's no pressure kind of activity or experiments. It's just what happens. The funny thing is you might forget slightly when you use them again, but it soon comes back to you. That's what I need to do. So this one's a bit patchy there, so I can just tidy that one up. Because this media is always water reactive, I can sort that one out. I'm going through here, I'm looking for a brownish colour. Golden brown. The one that I thought was golden brown is the one that is actually this weird green. Try this one, I think. I've got a brown, like a red, like that, and I've got this one. That's not red, that's not a brown. It looks like a mahogany, but it's a purpley colour. I know that one. But I've got this one, which looks like it might be a kind of brown. So let's have a look and see if I like this one. Not particularly, but this then is the perfect opportunity to do some colour blending. So I've got some of that golden yellow there. I'm not going to colour it over the top. I'm going to let my water brush do the mixing for me. So a different kind of colour going on here. Yeah, let me carry on with that brown. And just get a different kind of feeling to these sections using it this way. I think if I wanted to mix the colours, actually you can mix them, they do mix quite nicely one on top of the other. I just want to make sure I clean the nib off so that it's the pure colour the next time I use them. Forgotten that about Tombows, I haven't used them for years. Looks like I'm going to have to save some pennies up to get a new set because I really am enjoying using them. I really like this, I like that golden brown, and I like the way that it changes this golden colour just a little bit. So I think I'm going to add just a hint to these other sections and again use my water brush just to mix it in to mimic what the others are like. That's fine. And just give it that goldenish colour. Deep brown there. Yeah, I didn't know what was going to happen here. By doing this here, I could have made a complete mess. I haven't quite. It's not identical to the other sections, but it's close enough that it'll do. But even if I'd made a complete mess, it's still a learning process. And that is the beauty of a sketchbook. I actually like that. I do like that. That makes me happy. It really does. There's lots of colour. You might notice that some of these have got different colours in, because I was trying combinations of these Pentels out to see what the colours were like. And I've got this one here, which is rather a messy creation of mine there. So let's see if I can pick it up with this cloth. Really need a paper towel, to be honest, but haven't got any to hand. It looks nice. It doesn't, I could put colour in the other, but there's no pressure to put colour in everything. I think that is the point I'm trying to make, is that I can just do sections and use them just for practice, for trying different colour combinations out. And just using different media. So I've got that. How about if I combine that with, say, this colour? I've got no idea. Peach. Would you call this a peachy colour? Possibly. I'm just going to mix it in at the edge and just clean it up a little bit on my cloth there, and then put some of the pure colour in the middle. And let's see what happens when I activate this colour and mix them together with water. Because they do change that subtly, but I think there is a change in them. And of course with I can also lift some of that brown out to lighten it. I do want some of that, more of that peach to spread in. So that's interesting. Perhaps too much of the brown there to begin with and not enough of the peach, but I'll have a look and see if I can just lighten this a bit and perhaps use water just to move it down and towards the edges to get that lightest patch in the middle. They'll dry back lighter than they are. So that's always one of the lovely things about wet media. It does dry back. Here's a greeny colour. So I'm going to use this one along here, but I want a darker colour to go with that. And, oh, there we go. Perfect. So this really is, it's almost a darker version of this. See the two caps together. They look like they belong together. It's a bit of a mucky colour, the darker one, but by mixing the lighter green in it, we can change its vibrancy and make it less mucky and looking and more bright yellowy looking, but it still adds that bit of a shadow here. Just using my brush just to soften any edges and to, that's actually really quite nice. And I think those two look nice side by side. I don't know if you agree or not, but I do like those two side by side. And I think with this brown, I can get away without that peach. I don't think the peach has added anything to it at all. I think the brown on its own has, so I really like that. Try different brown. I've got this colour. Got this colour here. Is this a browny colour? Oh, we'll find out now. Yeah, I think this one is. I'm just going to pop some under here and let's see how this one works out. Yeah, it's not really brown. It's a red brown or brown red. It's more red than it is brown. But it's not a bright in your face red. It's a deeper red. She's quite nice. And I just picked up a little bit of the colour to add in there. They actually look really nice together. I like that colour combination. And even though I may not remember which Tombows I use, I'm not going to mark it down. I like these. I like the colours. So it's something for me to reference later on. It's like I like these colours here. I like that golden brown colour with the blue. I really do. This one's one of my favourites here, but I do really enjoy these kinds of mossy yellowy greens and the golden browns and indigo together. There's just they're a very natural colour combination. This one, which is very pale pastel-y colours, I like that, but it sort of sticks out amongst all of these for being different because it is so pale. I like the vibrancy of this. I'm not so sure about the colours I've used, you know, for the golden edges and the ring there and the red in between. But the blue is lovely. This one's interesting. I quite like it. But it needs something, and I don't know what the something is. It might need a darker colour around the edge there to really emphasise the roundness that we're getting. These are fun. They're very similar, aren't they, in colour? Just in a different way. So, you know, there's a deeper pinky purple here compared to here. And I've got more of an orangey colour. But it's very similar, but it's not the same, but it's similar. And I do like this darker edge here. It really makes it feel that it's falling away from us. It really is. So I hope you're enjoying this. I hope it's given you some ideas, or at least the confidence to say to yourself, right, I'm going to try these things. It's Sketchbook. It's not important if I get it right or wrong, if I like it or don't like it. I'm just playing with colour. I'm getting to know the medium I'm using better. And if I don't like what results, well, I've got it as a reference. Don't do this again. And if you'd asked me years ago if I liked this colour combination, I'd gone, no, not a chance, no. And yet I've grown into it. Perhaps I'm maturing. No, not a chance. It's just taste change, or we discover things perhaps we like more than the others. You know, a few years ago, this would have been my choice over this one. But I think that's one of my favourites. These colour combinations here, very autumnal. Autumn colours, which is very nice, very earthy. These are okay. It's okay. I could have done with more of the indigo colour, I think. But I was trying out what colours looked like side by side more than anything. And I want to put a colour in there. So let me get this lovely yellowy green here and add a bit of this mossy colour. Because I liked what I got over here with these. So by using them again, it's almost like I'm trying to trap how I get this in my memory so I can draw on it another time. If I don't, it's not important because I'll get the colour I want at the time. It'll work out. And then those bits in the middle, I really do think they need to be an indigo-ish colour. I've got this colour here, which is a kind of, I'm not sure what colour it is, but let's have a look and see what colour it comes out. No, I don't have any swatches for these, just in case you were wondering. I would have had at one time, I'm sure. But the thought of going through these and swatching them doesn't fill me with a great amount of pleasure. Yeah, that works okay. I've got a different shade of blue in there. That green works nicely against the browns and the blues on the outside, just like here really, or where else was it? At the top. So I hope you've enjoyed spending a little bit of time with me here. It's actually been 45 minutes nearly. Okay, I spent 5 minutes wittering about stuff most probably, but I really have enjoyed this, and I'm likely to colour on in a little while. I may need some tea, although I drank enough tea to sink a battleship not long ago. I shall see. I really need sleep, but I can't because I've got a delivery due. So, catch 22, oh no. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope I've surprised you nicely with this, and I hope you don't mind me just doing some colouring and a chat. And I hope you give this a go. I've got Pentels and Tombows because they're in my stash. You may have ordinary felt pens or fine liners. As long as they're water soluble, washable, you can use a brush and water with them. Have a go and see what happens. You don't necessarily have to go out and buy really expensive watercolours to get a watercolour effect or to add colour. And I haven't got the patience to colour with felt tip pens or pens like this, because I often end up with a very patchy colour. Says she who's looking at these and going, oh, that's a very patchy one. What I mean is streaky, you know, like you get the lines of pens in them. With water, I can cope with that imperfection because it looks like it's been deliberately watercoloured, or you've used water to shift the colour around, like up here. I really like that. And I couldn't get that if I tried to do it by colouring with different colours and layers and what have you. So I'm happy for that. So I'm wittering again, and I'm so tired. But I hope you'll give it a go. And I'll just give you a quick look. Yeah, just try and see what happens. You may discover a new medium that you like that's relatively inexpensive, or that you can just use for trying things out, and keep your best supplies for best. Although you do need to use your best supplies to get used to them as well. But for fun, this works. I've actually got a couple of sets of Stabilo, the thicker ones and the fine liners. So they work nicely as well. See, I've got all of this stuff in my stash I don't use. Time to use them. So I've got lots of circular designs. How are you doing with them? Have you been having a go? I really do hope so. There's one here that even looks almost like an apple's been cut in half. I started sticking shapes inside and all kinds of things. Flowers, all variations on a daisy. Rosy, weirdy, stylized-y flowers. Quite like this one. It looks like some, it's almost like what do you call it? Cotton candy floss, we call it over here in the UK, but I think in America you call it cotton candy, where it's sugar that's spun into very fine strands, and it's all fluffy and sweet and not very good for you, but delicious, melts in the mouth. It looks like something like that, or even a beehive or a wasp hive, hanging there. This started as a kind of, I thought this could be a stylized flower kind of, but it sort of developed. I've gone back to these things with spathes inside. I think those are the spathes, like arum lilies and so on and what have you. But it was an interesting thing to start with and see where I went with it. And this is 2 pages of, I started with a simple poppy. Actually, it didn't have the centre in it. And just worked with this idea to see where I went. Different numbers of petals, how to join them together, different ways of leaving gaps between them. A bit more traditional kinds of flowery. I think that one I like the best out of all of them. And that one I like as well. It's more of a rosy kind of poppy-ish thing, but poppies were the inspiration. And somebody's asked me, oh, look, more. It's taking that idea of a circle again, but this time a deliberately imperfect circle. So almost like a very stylized flower with a centre and a little kink in it. I use this so much in my colouring templates. It can be put together a load of them as spikes, or have them scattered as if they're in a bush, or foliage along the edge of a path or whatever. They're really lovely. But then what happens when you start changing things a bit and suddenly we go off in completely different tangents? And the other thing I'm going to note is that I'm nearly halfway through this sketchbook, which has got a stupid number of pages in. Can't remember how many. And I started this on the 4th of March. So I started this book a month ago to the day. So these things are addictive. I recommend it. Anyway, I'm wittering. So I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me. I really do hope that you've enjoyed spending some time with me, adding some colour to this drawing that I did last week, even though I've added bits to it, but you can see what bits I've added. So if you need inspiration, you can gather it from here. I'm quite happy for that, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Well, hopefully there'll be, oh, perhaps you enjoy the Witter, but I might not. I'll do some drawing and some colouring, and I don't know what, but we'll see. So take care until then, and I'll see you soon. Oh, and be creative.